5 phones I would never buy in 2026. There are some phones from the last couple of years that were actually amazing when they launched, but it's 2026 now, and the smartphone market has changed. Newer phones are faster, cheaper, and in some cases, they're giving you features that used to belong exclusively to expensive flagships. So today, we're looking at 5 phones I would not buy in 2026. And before anyone gets angry, I'm not saying these phones are terrible. Some of them were actually great. The problem is simple. Would I still spend my money on them today? Let's find out. Number 5. Samsung Galaxy A16 5G. Let's start cheap. The Galaxy A16 5G launched in late 2024 at around $199. And honestly, Samsung did a lot right here. You've got a 90Hz AMOLED display, 5G, a 5,000 mAh battery, and Samsung promised an unusually long software support period for a budget phone. For around $200, that's pretty impressive. But here's the problem. It's 2026, and the budget phone market has moved forward. The A16's performance is pretty basic, and you're still dealing with compromises that newer budget phones have started reducing. And here's the really important part. There are now newer options around the same price that offer stronger overall hardware. So if you find an A16 5G heavily discounted, sure, it can still make sense. But if someone tells me, I'm spending around $200 on a phone in 2026, should I get the A16? I'd say, look at the newer competition first, because being cheap isn't enough anymore. Number 4. Motorola Moto G Power 2025. Next up is the Moto G Power 2025. This phone launched at about $299. And I actually like what Motorola did here. You get a 120Hz display, a huge battery, wireless charging, a headphone jack, micro SD support, and a rugged design. That's a lot of phone for $300, so why is it on this list? Performance. The Snapdragon 7S Gen 2 gives you decent everyday performance, but this isn't a phone I'd recommend to someone who wants serious gaming or heavy multitasking. And Motorola's software support policy on budget phones isn't exactly the reason you buy them. Meanwhile, newer budget and mid-range phones have become much more competitive. So the Moto G Power 2025 isn't a bad phone. It's actually pretty sensible. But if you're spending close to $300 in 2026, I want more performance for my money. Number 3. Google Pixel 8a. Now we're getting interesting. The Pixel 8a launched in 2024 at $499. And when it launched, it was one of the easiest phones to recommend. Amazing cameras, clean Android, wireless charging, IP67 water resistance, and Google's Tensor chip. But here's the problem, it's not 2024 anymore. The Pixel 8a has been replaced by newer A-series Pixels, and the budget Pixel category has become extremely competitive. And in 2026, the question isn't, is the Pixel 8a good? It is. The question is, how cheap is the Pixel 8a? If you can find it heavily discounted, suddenly it becomes interesting. But if a retailer is still charging you anywhere near its original $499 price, absolutely not, because current 2026 buying guides put newer phones like the Pixel 10a among the strongest sub-$500 options. So the Pixel 8a isn't a bad phone. It's just getting harder to justify at the wrong price. Number 2. Samsung Galaxy A56 5G. Now let's move up to the mid-range. The Galaxy A56 5G launched in 2025 at around $499, and this phone is actually really good. You've got a 120Hz AMOLED display, a 5,000 mAh battery, 45-watt charging, an IP67 rating, a premium glass and metal style design, and 6 years of software updates. So why would I avoid it? Because of its successor. The newer Galaxy A57 has arrived, and interestingly, the upgrade isn't exactly revolutionary. In fact, current comparisons argue that the A56 can actually be the smarter purchase because the newer A57 doesn't dramatically improve some of the areas where the A56 was criticized. So this is a weird one. If the A56 is heavily discounted, buy it. If you're paying close to its original price, I'd look at the newer competition first. This is why you can't simply say, never buy an old phone. Sometimes the older phone is actually the better deal. Number 1. Motorola Razr 2025. And finally, the number 1 phone I'd be very careful buying in 2026, the Motorola Razr 2025. Now this one is different because it's a foldable, and foldables are cool, there's no denying it. You get a big 6.9-inch internal display, a useful external screen, a compact design, and that satisfying feeling of closing your phone like you're in a spy movie. But here's where things get interesting. The Razr 2025 launched at around $699. And now there's a newer Razr 2026. But here's the twist. The 2025 Razr can actually be a great deal if it's discounted. Current 2026 analysis found the 2025 model available around $599, while the newer model costs more. The older phone also starts with 256 gigabytes of storage, compared with 128 gigabytes on the newer model. So why is it number 1? Because if you're seeing this phone at anything close to its original price, don't. At that point, you're paying too much for an older foldable when newer options exist. But But if you find it around $500 to $600, now we're talking. And that's actually the biggest lesson from this entire video. So there you have it. 5 phones I wouldn't rush out to buy in 2026. But notice something. I didn't say all 5 phones were bad, because they're not. The Galaxy A16 5G was a solid budget phone. The Moto G Power 2025 offers a lot for the money. The Pixel 8a still has excellent cameras. The Galaxy A56 is still a strong mid-range phone. And the Razr 2025 can actually be a great deal when discounted. The real problem is price. A phone can be amazing, and still be a terrible purchase if you're paying too much for it. So before you buy any phone in 2026, don't just ask, is this phone good? Ask, what else can I get for the same money? Because that's where the real value is. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe.